All right, this will be the day trading recap for Wednesday, August 19th, 2026. Let's take a look at the pre-market plan here. So, been in this higher time frame balance. Recently, we've seen weakness come into the market the past few days, and then overnight today we saw a nice rally back into this previous balance, just reclaiming above that previous balance low, which was also previous all-time high. You can see on this recent strength, we put in a nice low volume node here. That was a big watch for me today. So basically, I was looking for this upside to continue, either for pullbacks into this low volume node to hold, or for if pre-market high was to break, I would then look for upside. Shorts, I wrote it was kind of hard for me to look for a short plan until this low volume node fails to hold. Just at this current moment, not really seeing anything that's indicating weakness to me. Now that could change, and it did change, but we'll get into it. So market opens up. We sell off into our key low volume node area, which was from the 40s to the 20s. I take an entry that ends up getting cut for, I believe it's a 3-point loss. I took a 3-point loss on that, was in and out within the minute. So we'll look at that real quick. So on the sell-off into the key level, we get aggressive selling. We see some absorption, a little bit of aggression coming in. Down here, retests. I saw this as exhaustion and buying coming in here. Now, looking at this entry, in hindsight, I kind of hate it. This aggression is not that strong. It moves the market about 2 points. We do see some selling absorption. I like this bid here. But really, we should have seen a move maybe up to here, then retest, exhaust, then get in. Yeah, I really don't like this entry that much in hindsight. You can see I got stopped like almost immediately. By the time I took my entry picture, look, this was at 9:35:24. This was at 9:35:37. So I was about 10 seconds away from getting stopped out already when I took this entry picture. It was already failing on me. So yeah, not the greatest confirmation on that one. Then price does sell off a little bit more. Still in this low volume node, we start to see some rally. So I went ahead and tried another long setup. So what happened here, we get strong buying coming in after some absorption. I don't have a picture of the absorption because it was so big that it skewed how all these bubbles looked. And actually, it wasn't absorption. It was this strong buying that came in. So we saw strong delta loading in at the lows, and then aggression off of it. I ideally wanted to wait for a retest into this initial level, but we had this bid, this whole thick bid here that started stepping in on this pullback, and you saw some brief absorption down here with buying coming in. I went ahead and got an entry in that when this offer right here was breaking. That ended up, as you can see, we're bouncing out that low volume node. That ended up moving just a bit in my favor, pulled back. This honestly would have been a good entry too, because that's that short-term absorption, aggression, exhaustion. But after that, I was then ready to cut it. After this, one of my favor bounced, or one of my favor rejected, back in the red, bounced. I was then not really looking to hold full stop on this anymore. Broke this high. You can see this buyers got exhausted. This re-offers. That's a huge red flag. Honestly, this should have been cut probably somewhere up in here, but I was being a little stubborn and cut down here. I only saved myself a tick from my initial risk on that. So I lost 2.5 points on that. Lost 3 points on my first trade. There's that first trade. Here's that second one. All right. So now the market takes a nice dump. Price sells off. And I get an entry short. So originally I didn't want to be in short until this low volume node broke. But with how the market was developing at this point in time, it looked super weak. So we had sold off at open, failed to pop out of the low volume node, popped again, and then rejected at that same area. And when this low broke, I thought it was pretty likely that we were just going to go and flush that 7720 level, which is exactly where we bounced. But we'll get into that entry. So there was a large delta level that came in on the break of this low, and on the retest of this large delta level, you can see exhaustion by buyers. So I go ahead and get in as it starts selling off again. Price moves a little bit in my favor, starts to come up, rejects again, starts to come up again, starts to get pretty aggressive, and I cut early. It then goes and sells off one more time, hitting that 7720 level, and then reversing. And this is where things got a little rough for me because, well, first of all, we'll get into that loss. That was a 2-point loss, so still keeping them nice and tight. But this is where we bounced from 7,720. Price starts to get really aggressive. I draw out my level of absorption from this move where I want to see a pullback to get long for pretty much the main move I've been watching all day. Just another try at these two entries, and it just never comes back to give me an entry, and that sucked. But it is what it is, and it's good to not chase it, and then wait for the next opportunity. So then price comes up near high of day at this previous all-time high level right here, and starts to really slow down. And at this point, based on how the past 2 days have been and how this day's forming at the current moment, I started thinking that we might just form an intraday balance and reject here and hit that mean. So I went ahead and took a short, another short. So again, this large delta comes in, so it makes it kind of hard to see all this in the pick, but buying really starts to get absorbed up here. We start to have some attempts at sell-offs. Then here we finally get a sell-off, break through some of these bids. On this retest, buyer gets exhausted, offer loads in, and then this big seller comes in and just completely tanks the delta. Delta was already starting to trail off and turn negative, or at least reverse from its highs, and then it just sunk right there. So that was a large seller. I went ahead and got in, and the main thing I needed to see was a break of this bid. I typed offer, it's a bid right here at this level. I needed to see that break. So I get in, it tests, comes back, almost stops me out, doesn't. I sit in this chop, we test the bid, we break the bid. Okay, this is where we really want to see it push. Nope, it comes up and retests. Tests again. Comes down to break that bid again. This time the bid loads back in. Price starts to rally. I should have cut it right here. I did not. Probably because I was a couple points in profit. And it's harder for me to cut a couple points in profit than it is a couple points loss. But we come up, get really close to stop again. Price goes back into this bid, starts to rally. I cut that for a 1-point loss. Now, I do want to go through one thing real quick. You can see I got out of this at the 38.75. My stop loss on this was legit one tick away from this candle right here at 40.25. Had I held that, it would have worked out. My target was between the 29s and the 20s, low of day. Could have gotten a nice exit in there. But yeah, it just, at the point in time that I was in that trade and it was hitting that bid, it made no sense for me to stay in it because my whole thesis was I wanted to see that bid break. Look how many times this bid gets tested in this area and just doesn't break. This is a trade that worked, but I would have felt lucky catching a win on it. So when I get to that point in the trade where I feel lucky, like I think to myself, wow, if this works out, I would be so lucky. That is a sign to just cut it, just get the heck out. Because we want to be in trades where we feel like we took a high probability, high confirmation trade and we're glad. I'm trying to think of the right words. We're not surprised it worked out. there is a bit of luck involved in everything, but it's not a trade where you're like, wow, I get so lucky. It's a trade that you say, okay, it worked this time, it might not work next, but I think over the next 10 times, it's going to work out 5. So yeah, that just did not make sense for me to stay in. So at this point, emotions can get really in your head because took a loss, wanted to get in this, didn't get an entry, it would have won. Got an entry, pulled myself out, would have won if I stayed in. Yeah, so that was tricky. But from here, we stayed patient. I'll get through that loss real quick. That ended up only being a 1-point loss. So like that, I mean, that's A+ risk management. That's basically break even. So price comes up, tests these intraday highs again, is able to break over them, is able to break over this. It's not a pre-market high, but it's a pre-market like second high. This is the main pre-market high, but we're able to break over that. And at this point, my original scenario was to get long after a break of this pre-market high, but since we've built so much, I guess, interest up here, where price was rejecting on the day, as an intraday balance high, since we had so much activity up here, and then price was able to break this level and then retest, and I'll show you the confirmation, which was the whole part of it, but holding above this previous res now, that gave me a good enough edge, or the context at this point was good enough to take it before this pre-market high broke. I felt it was likely enough it would break with all this that developed. I know I'm getting a little bit rambling and probably not making the most sense. The brain is pretty exhausted after today. All right, so on this break, we get a nice low volume node created on the break of previous high of days. So we're like the 4 3s through the 4 6s, and then 5 1 is that next level. So we break the 4 3 4 6s. It's like up in here. We'll break through it right there, create a low volume node. We're kind of rejecting from that 5-1 level, just a little bit above. And I'm originally watching for a retest, a pullback into the low volume node on all of this. And it just, price is so slow, we don't really get an actual aggressive pullback that I actually was kind of watching this for shorts for a brief moment, if we could get a quick short scalp. That didn't set up. We did get that aggressive pullback finally, and that's when I started looking for an entry in this low volume node. So on this aggressive pullback into this, we have this bid right here, but we also, that's what I really wanted to see, was it push into this bid, but instead we got something just as good. This aggressive selling got absorbed down here by a new bid that loaded in. See this bid right here, absorbing the selling. Here comes that buying. We get a retest. Low volume here, that's exhaustion, and I went ahead and took this entry. It moved pretty quickly in my favor, so right away I was able to reduce risk a point or two. Then I was able to reduce it to break even, and then I cut it just at that high of, or not high of day, but that pre-market high. Could have snagged a few more points with a little bit more patience, but down 0 for 4 on the day with the way it's been going, missing a move, and then getting myself out of a possible winner. And just the past few sessions in general, just how hard and tricky they've been. Not looking to catch a home run. I'm looking to get in and get out and respect my plans and targets and not be perfect. That's the goal right in this current market condition. But yeah, you can see bouncing out of that low volume node. Originally wanted to wait for this pre-market high to break, but since we formed an intraday balance and getting over that balance can give us some more momentum to then break the high, and then with this good confirmation, it was good enough for me to take it prematurely to then catch the break of that high, which I pretty much got in and out. I thought that high was at 57. I guess it was a little bit higher. But yeah, I just got out for a smooth 6 points, nothing crazy. Obviously could have gotten a few more, 5, 6 more points, but it's not about being perfect. So it's been very tricky the past few weeks, like no sugarcoating that. Some things I'm working on are cutting losers early. If a trade is dead in the water and it hasn't hit stop loss, there's no reason to hold it, and that has been able to save me some points. So I'd like to keep implementing that going forward. Um, yeah, just working on being patient on good entries and not letting adversity cause me to tilt, which that's been the thing I've been the best at. Yesterday, after 3 losses, especially after 2 of them were pretty crappy, I could see myself slipping into old habits, and I didn't. Um, it wasn't really as tempting today to slip into old habits, but it was just like, this sucks. Like, I just lose all the time. I miss the moves. Like, do I even know what I'm doing? And it's hard. That's something you need to keep in mind with the market. Like, it's not going to be the same thing every day. One day you might feel like you're the best ever, and the next you might feel like a piece of crap. So it's all about managing expectations and realizing every day is not going to be the same, and being okay with it not being the same, and then getting to the point where, as long as you followed your rules and your execution, you can be just as happy with a red day as a green day. So yeah, I'm trying to use this market to learn and get better at whatever I can, and that's a lot of emotion psychology, just handling myself, my expectations, my patience, staying away from bad habits, and then, like I said earlier, getting better at cutting losses before they hit full stop. So yeah, there's always opportunities to get better in the market, get 1% better every day. Yeah, excited for one more day this week. Tomorrow I'll be off Friday for work. I'm glad I got to trade today. I didn't think I was going to be able to. So yeah, a long, very long video. So I'm going to cut it there. Peace.